second episode of the Flat Earth Chronicles with my special guest, Dale Ale. So, is that your real name? Dale Ale, is that your real name?
You know my real name? No, like my name's Alex Abreu. But
okay, I didn't know if there's anything that you don't want to. You don't have to answer anything you don't want. This is on the internet for life. We interviewed one guy who used to train with us. He was very tall, like 6'5", really talented, and he asked me to yank the video he was in. Remember that guy?
Oh, your
Troy.
son, your lost son,
Troy.
Yeah.
So he ended up being a doctor, and he didn't like that video out there, right? And he's like, "Hey, man, can you yank that?" And I had to go yank it from a whole bunch of channels, so it was a lot of work.
Oh, that's crazy, dude.
Yeah. So you're and the point of this podcast, the Flat Earth Chronicles, is to interview people that are flat earthers or flat earth skeptics, see how they got there, what they believe, things of that nature. So a little background on you. Ale or Alex to me still, is an instructor at one of our schools. So I started Checkmate Jiu-Jitsu years ago, 2010, I think. And later on, I ended up handing that off to you, which you run that school in Jacksonville today. And I opened our second location in St. Mary's. I hope you're happy that we plugged that, because I normally don't. So
time to go hugging.
All right. And I see you're eating. Now, and an interesting thing that I don't think we see a lot in the flat earth community I wanted to share is you have your master's in psychology. Am I right? Did I get that right? You do have your master's in psychology, right?
Sciences, but yeah.
Right. And you for several years, you did work with special needs kids, or like, did I say that right? Yeah. So what if a kid believed in flat Earth in your field, would that be a psychosis? Seriously, are you taught are you taught in college that that's a psychosis, or is that something, or it's not covered, or what?
It's not. I don't think it's specific. You guys don't have your own little diagnosis yet, or anything.
No, not yet. I bet we will. I bet that's coming. That's next.
Well, honestly, right? I think people missed the big point of flat Earth, like the real big point.
What's the big point?
You should question where the facts are coming from, right? Like, we all say, like, we all believe this because they say that, right? But how many times has they lied to us? How many times have they give us misinformation to only find out that, oh, they were lying? Like, of course, it's the government. They always lie, right? Like we're so quick to disbelieve one thing and believe another thing because they want us to believe it. And I know that's conspiracy theory thinking, but I'm not saying flat Earth isn't real, but I'm also not fully believing in anything because, like, I can't go see it. I can't go up there. I'm taking the word on people that literally lie to us all the time. I'm like, nah, I'm good. I'll choose to be open-minded about it. How about that?
Yeah, well, man, that's so. When I met you, were you a flat earther?
No, I just didn't care. Like, yeah, I mean, it wasn't even a thing. I didn't really. I mean, when you dive into anything, you dive into the deep end. So the more you talked about it at first, I was like, I'm a white belt. This is my black belt. Like, I'll believe whatever he wants me to believe. I just want to get those belts in, right? Like, yep, absolutely, flat Earth. But then it got to a point where it was like you became so passionate about it, and I'm like, and kind of like egging you on, kind of get you on a rant when you're teaching class. But like, side of this stuff you started sinking in a little bit, and I mean, like, if I'm taking a test, right, and the question is the Earth flat? I'm going to say no, right? Only because I know the answer is supposed to be no, right? Like, the Earth is supposed to be round. So, yeah, of course, I will give the appropriate answer to whoever's listening. But the truth is the Earth flat? I don't know. Like, is it round? I don't know. Because, like, the same science they use to prove it, we use to disprove it. So it's like, I'll believe it when I see it. And my life doesn't really revolve around knowing if it's flat around. But what taught me was, bro, you've been minded, because once we get closed-minded, it's so hard for us to shift gear, whatever. So it's like people that are like, no, you guys are dumb, crazy. There's no way it's flat. I'm like, man, you guys are really that passionate and ready to throw hands for something you can't even prove, like something that could literally be the truth. Like, it could be flat. Like, why not?
It is. If you ever delved further, I'm pretty sure I can prove to you it is. But when you talk about people being passionate, I've dropped a few videos. So I made a resolution that this year I'm going to try to grow a channel dedicated to flat Earth. So every at least once a week, I'm going to drop a video, and once a week I want to do a live podcast. So I've got a ton of guys that are ripping on every video, flat Earth trolls, right? Every single video I drop, the same group of guys, like the same 4 or 5 guys already, I'm sure that group will grow, just go out and absolutely lay into every video. And that to me is amazing, that these guys are so passionate about trolling flat Earth. Like, if you don't believe in flat Earth, you just shouldn't care, right? Like, what's the point of these guys? And frankly, I think they're paid. Like, I honestly believe when you've been in it for a while, I believe they're paid, and they're there to create, to make people think that, oh, I'm going to look stupid if I entertain this, right? They're there to create division. And to make the person who's doing research question, right? So they have a very common sense. But everything they post has been disproven. I want to share.
That's smart, because it wouldn't cost a lot of money, right? To just have bots doing fake responses and comments, like pre-responded. It actually makes super sense.
Yeah, and bots, they're bots because I try to look up their counts, or every single one I'll say, I will entertain this argument on my podcast. Come on my podcast and we'll talk about it. I'll argue with you. I'll debate you, right? That's not my goal. I'm not looking to debate people. But I will, if you, I'll explain the flat Earth argument. But I just find that hilarious that they're out there trolling every single video, and it's always the same. I think it's bots get attached to your account. That looks like a really good meal.
Effort to disprove one random crazy fact, right? Like, why spend so much effort when there's countless of multiple dumb things out there that people believe in, but yet there's like literally an equal amount of passion of hating us versus like believing it.
Sorry, I'm writing down some notes. Hold on. And crap, I already forgot. I went to write it down. That's how bad my memory is today. Oh yeah.
Oh, I know.
So let me give you an example of an experiment. I'm curious if you saw this one. You may not even know this is out there. A few years ago, I'm always thinking, man, there's got to be a way to prove it, right? Like, and to me, there's several. You have mirror experiments, you have laser experiments, you have a gyroscope experiment, and you have weather balloon experiments that can prove, and I can explain that. But here's an example. If you have a gyroscope, and that gyroscope, and the Earth is turning 360 degrees a day, right? And a gyroscope observes rigidity in space, which they teach in college at every level, that gyroscopes observe rigidity in space. So if I have a gyroscope and I place it on a table, it should show roughly 15 degrees rotation per hour, right? That's how gyroscopes work. Now, that's how the simple-minded person thinks. I mean, actually, it should observe rotation. That would vary, depending where it is on the equator, where it is whether it's on the equator or at a pole or there somewhere in between. But you have other things. It's not just the Earth rotating, right? We're also circling the sun. We're also rocketing forward. The galaxy's turning. So when people talk about 15 degrees an hour, it's like they forgot all the other mechanisms that are moving, right? It would take a lot of thought to actually come up. I don't even know if you could come up with an accurate number, because all the movements in the galaxy are hypothetical anyway. But my point is, you should register some movement. There should be some movement on a gyroscope. So here's the thing. There's several gyroscope experiments out there. This guy named Taboo Conspiracy has some really good ones on his YouTube channel. It's Taboo Conspiracy 3, where they take a mechanical gyroscope, a fairly expensive one, and the first thing you have to do is you have to verify it's sensitive enough. So how do you do that? You get an analog clock and you remove the face of it and you put it on the, you use the analog clock motor and you set the gyroscope on that so that the gyroscope is sitting on a surface that's turning at 15 degrees an hour. And they did that, and guess what it showed? The gyroscope showed 15 degrees an hour of rotation. So now you've gauged your instrument and you have verified beyond a doubt that you have an instrument sensitive enough to capture 15 degrees an hour. And if we're, rotating in space, you're going to expect to see some rotation. And supposedly the fastest rotation is the 15 degrees. So even if the other movements are throwing it off, you should see something close to 15 degrees. Well, guess what? When they take it off that analog clock base and they put it on a desk that's stationary and film it for 24 hours, it doesn't show a degree of rotation. So if you have a gyroscopic, an instrument that's sensitive enough to pick up 15 degrees an hour and it picks up none over 24 hours, the Earth isn't rotating. That you can't debate that. That's not up for debate. It's a fact. To me, it's proven right there.
Even that, right? Like, when I've got to like a nude weird level, like just kind of like not believing things as much as I should or have been told to. But like the idea of what we think space is, I don't think that's real, right? And the only reason why I don't think that's real is because it's literally evolved way too much in the last 60 years, right? Like, we see like photographs taken, and now it just looks like that doesn't make any sense, right? And I can't fathom it. I don't want to fathom it. But I also like again, we've been lied so much about space, about the space landing, how the stars look, right? Like how far things are. I feel like they're just literally making it up as they go, and we're just getting fed it, and we're like told it's because of new technology, the way things look like this. And I'm like, no, a camera's still a camera, right? Like, I mean, fine, it won't be as high definition, but it's just like it's extra shit that's been added to space. To now that I'm starting to believe that, like, I don't think we ever passed the Ray Allen belts, right? So I don't really think we know what anything space is. So like when people say the Earth is flat, I'm like, bro, you can't even agree on what's out there right now. And you guys are like, no, like, again, who are we believing when all these people are lying to us, right? Again, it's still a huge agenda, reason to push it. And I think that's what people don't understand. Like, why, like, there's so much reason why, like, the world, right? Like, I mean, I hate to say it, but like Lucifer would want to push an idea of space, kind of like disproving what heaven is, right? Because like we all growing up thought heaven was space,
above
right?
us.
Like right above us. But now we're being told, no, there's nothing above us, guys. It's miles.
Well, there's no above. It's
right.
Yeah,
There's
the whole.
There's no below. And if there's no below, that means there's no hell. There's no wrong for doing. So you manipulate the world into doing whatever you want them to do. And now we start forgetting, like, why don't we follow like what these people did 7,000 years ago? Because we literally been lied to for decades and generations to believe all this BS. When honestly, like, right over that little cloud could be heaven, and we don't know because we can't walk up there and take a look. So I feel like, again, that's why I have a hard. And people like people, and it's not politics. It's really more religion than anything else. I think that's what it comes down to. Like, that's who's in control. If you really think about it. So like, when science comes out to prove that flat Earth is wrong, I'm like, yeah, it's made up fucking science. Like, I don't care.
Did you know that? Did you know that Werner? Do you know who Werner von Braun is? You ever heard that name?
Familiar.
All right, so he was the U.S. government grabbed him from Germany after World War II in an operation called Operation Paperclip, and we brought him over to the U.S. and gave him amnesty if he led our space program. Right, so he was the lead. He was a rocket scientist, and he became the lead. He actually became one of the founders and the lead engineer, rocket designer, developer for the Apollo 11 rocket that supposedly took us to the moon, right? So he's credited with the design of the Apollo 11 rocket. Now, he wrote a book years, I want to say in the 40s, or let's say it's the 50s, or I think it was the 50s. I'd have to look up the exact year, but 30 years ago, right? No, what am I thinking? More than 50 years ago, right? More than 50 years ago, he wrote a book called From the Earth to the Moon. From the Earth to the Moon? Yeah. I have to look it up. That may not be the title. He wrote a book about going to Mars, and it would be led by someone named Elon. But in that book, he said, you know, this sci-fi book that he wrote, it was about going to Mars, and it'd be led by someone named Elon. And what are the odds of that, right? Like Elon, if you said you wrote a book like that and it was going to Jupiter and it was someone named Jerry, right? Okay, that's not very coincidental.
Things.
But when you're, you know, specifically going to Mars, and so they do this all the time. That's called the revelation of the method. If you look, it's just like Arthur C. Clarke wrote about satellites X number of years, let's say at least 10, maybe 20 years before satellites ever existed.
Dude, that's so smart. Like, what if the stories about our future are literally just prophecies that we're told to believe?
Well, they do it all the time. They do that all the time, right? And here's the thing. When Arthur C. Clarke wrote about satellites before they existed, when he's a sci-fi writer, he this guy's just You there?
Hello?
Hello.
I can hear
you. Hear me?
Yes.
All right, that's weird. I'm curious how that's going to work out. Apparently, I'm still live. Shows 18 minutes, but yeah, apparently I dropped, which is odd. I have fiber to my house, but somehow I dropped. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, we're talking about.
So Arthur C. Something happened with my internet. I don't know. Maybe it's correcting itself.
It's because they know we're talking. They know, and they're trying to mess us up.
I don't doubt that. That happens. I watch this happen to podcasters all the time. I really don't doubt it. They'll sit there and have perfect signals, they say, and then they go to go to do a live stream, and this happens.
Man, wouldn't it be hard to stop?
Yeah, back to
again, just search a few words.
Yeah. So back to Arthur C. He wrote about satellites, whereas he put them 26,000 miles out, and what about that becomes science, right? And this happens all the time. There was another book about, I think that's the book title, From the Earth to the Moon, by Jules Verne. If I remember, I know I got them mixed up, but I think it was Jules Verne that wrote From the Earth to the Moon.
Hold on
and
a second.
He gives
something cool just happened.
This better be super cool.
It is. Hold on.
Oh, didn't want to do that. I figured since you're boring us to death, I'm just going to sit here and show what I'm working on.
No, so one of my students are still alive. Yeah. So one of our students, right? Because me and Bobby own a jiu-jitsu school. Did I guys tell you I run a jiu-jitsu school? Thanks to Bobby. Bobby gave me a jiu-jitsu school. That's my dad. But anyways, one of my students who's a cop, not to say any names or anything, sent me a ring video of two individuals that should be searching through something that I was supposed to search. So he sent me the video, asked me if I could listen to it so I could tell him what they said. But I'm like, why can't you just listen? I'm thinking because it's loud outside. No, it's because they spoke Spanish and he doesn't speak Spanish. So like, that's really cool. Like using your resources. Is called me, can you translate this for me really quick? It was like, that's what I was doing, listening to them. And it's like, it just sounded like two guys lost looking for an address. But it was kind of weird because I know he's a cop. So I'm like, they said 38 in Spanish. I'm like, oh shit, that could be like house 38 or they're looking for the 38 right in that. But no, like it's pretty cool.
Yeah, I noticed you're on some.
I feel honored.
What?
That made me feel good, right? Like it's cool because they're my students, right? By the way, I do have to like. I know we're off topic a little bit, but again, we are jiu-jitsu people, right? Like that's literally what started our open-mindedness, was just believing in the art of jiu-jitsu. Like literally, I think someone said it. Like there's more philosophy happening on jiu-jitsu mats than there is in like all the Ivy League schools combined at any given moment. But anyways, I digress because I'm a little bit high. No, that like it's really weird being called coach, right? I mean, literally, I started off as a white belt, as knowing nothing with you. So it's weird, like being your partner now, right? Like, I mean, you're always gonna be my professor. I don't care what. But like, it's just weird, like, because I'm like, I'm one stripe away from being the same color belt you are, which is crazy to me, right? Like, it's crazy because I remember starting such a long time ago, and like, I mean, you still destroy me and murder me all the time, right? But it's like, I mean, whatever. I see that face, but like, it's crazy. And then like, obviously, I did this journey with Jeff, our other brown belt. Like, I came under from you. Like, it was the same instructor. He took a break for a little bit, but we won't talk about that. But he came back. And like, it's funny because when we teach, we always make fun of each other. Like when it's like off the side, we're like, bro, like I just see Bobby and you. And then when he teaches, he says the same thing to me. Like it's just like we're so much constantly trying to mirror your game. Like obviously I've added more of like a big guy version to it. And Jeff is like almost a splitting image of yours because you guys are the same body build. I mean, nobody's as long as you are, but like Jeff is like average height. So kind of like working through those little, like where you can't be like Bobby because we're not tall and skinny. But like, I mean, like I roll weird for a big guy, and a lot of it because it's your game. But it's just weird, right? Like just the adventure of like growing and then seeing the school grow and then seeing the school shrink, switching buildings, right? Getting new mats. Like now we're opening up a second school. Like it's been a fucking crazy wave. And even you disappeared for a little bit, right? But I got it. Like that was like that's what my responsibility, right? My responsibility wasn't to get rich or anything. It was to like. Bobby really entrusted me in this whole fucking school, right? At the Purple Ball at the time. And I'm like, I can't let him down. Like, I can't. Like I don't care if I never make a penny. Like, my goal is to keep your name open forever until we go international. And now we're national, right? Like, now we're in 2 different states, right? You're still working together.
I needed a break from jiu-jitsu, right? I started teaching in 2005, and I taught until when did you take over the school? Do you remember what year that was? 20.
It was like 20. It was right. It was the beginning of COVID. Remember, like you guys were mad that I was opening up the school during COVID hours. So that's when you kind of like gave it away to me. But like you were still in charge, obviously. But it wasn't until like mid 2020 that you were like, "All right, guys, I'm splitting up the school. I'm leaving. Like I'm burnt out." And you kind of stayed around, but then you moved and you bought a new house, and then like you just went Mr. Monopoly, bro. Like over there.
Well, I was still training. Right. I trained with Chris Garza and Fernandina. And then when I moved to Jessup, I trained with, I think it's called Southeast Martial Arts. And I went out to Waycross once and I checked out a few schools and I found some good, but I enjoyed
running it. Like you took a break from that.
Yeah. Oh man, it was great. It was great for 15 years. I had been teaching and I just wanted a break. And then I rediscovered the passion, right? Like I started after about 6 months, I started missing teaching, right? Like that, I didn't think I would. I thought I was ready to just be a practitioner, but after about 6 months, I started missing teaching. So I had to find a way back into it. So we ended up with Checkmate 2, and now hopefully that's going to lead to Checkmate 3. So we'll see if we can build something bigger. But I'm curious, back to Flat Earth and Coffee, or the Flat Earth Chronicles, because the Flat Earth Chronicles is a series I'm doing under my new channel, Flat Earth and Coffee, which is Jiu-Jitsu and Coffee rebranded. So I don't know if some of the people that might be watching are jiu-jitsu practitioners, and maybe it'll end up being some of both. But where was I going with that? Oh yeah. So I'm curious if some of the guys in the school, does it still come up in the school with me being gone? Are there other flat earthers there?
Sure. So me and Jeff use flat earth references. Like, honestly, it's funny. It's gotten to the point where I don't think people know if we're really flat earthers or not. And that's fine, because again, it's really not their business. But we talk about it all the time. Like, we talk about it, and we make jokes about it too, right? So it almost sounds like it's condescending. But like, it'd be like the world's strongest shape is a triangle, right? Because like it works on a flat earth, right? And that's why triangles are deadly. So we just say stuff like that, and then people kind of laugh at us. But what we kind of do is get the conversation going, and we start immediately throwing some like quick darts of doubt. Like, yeah, but what about this? And how's we going to believe that? And we start laughing. We say it so confident, like we don't argument. But I think Matt doesn't believe, like, he knows something is up. He just knows
Matt hates it. Oh my gosh. I almost lost Matt as a friend when I was trying to talk to him about it. I could tell he was getting angry, but not to joke on Matt. I love Matt. I love his wife. I love his family. They're great people, but he named his child Elon. And I know he gets upset when I rag on space. Right. So,
dude, Matt's another guy that was with us since the old school too.
He's coming up on his brown belt. He's going to be a brown belt soon. So are there now? I'm curious. Where do you think Jeff's with Flat Earth? Do you think he's a real flat earther, or do you think he's just joking about it? Or
I don't know. I don't like what I personally think. I think he's like, I like to think he thinks like me, like, who the fuck knows? Like who really knows? So like, we just keep an open mind. Like, and it's crazy because his martial arts is kind of the same way. Like he's done a lot, little things here and there, but he's always going back to the books. Like, he really just keeps an open mind about jiu-jitsu, like MMA, all that stuff. And I feel like that's how he lives his life too. He's kind of like very like it's like he's lived enough life. Like, he doesn't need to argue over things. Like, I think he believes what he believes. And I think what he believes is who the fuck knows, as in nobody knows, even the people that claim to really know. And that's kind of like where I've been standing the longest. Like, I mean, it's just the fact that these two weird subjects are arguing, because we're literally arguing right now about what, flat Earth and a spherical Earth. We're not like, usually what's the biggest argument? It's about religion. Like,
it shouldn't be arguing like this. Thousands of years ago, the greatest minds sat and talked about this, right? They were philosophers, and they sat and they had, auditoriums, and they had sides, and they had people learning the arguments and giving their input, and they were becoming great philosophers, right? And they became, they went down in history. There was a time when the greatest minds in the world discussed this. And today, mainstream society considers you the smallest mind if you are entertaining this subject, and that shows you how twisted the society is, right? Like, nobody should. To me, that's a red flag, right? Like, that's one of the reasons I started going deeper, right? Is because people were out there. Trolls were just out there when I was looking into it, and frankly, I didn't see any real proof that the Earth was. And I got into it because, my mom became a flat earther. All she does is, my mom's on the computer all day, every day. That's it. Really? This happened like 10 years ago, right? 10 years ago, she just got on the computer and she never got off. And this was part of her journey. And then she started bringing it up around me. And I said, Mom, if do not bring this up in front of my friends. They're gonna think I come from bad stock, right? Like we're a intellectually inferior family, right? Don't bring this up. And she's like, well, then just debunk me. And I'm like, there's set, you know, all the standard arguments, which I knew. I used to be Mr. Anunnaki. I was Mr. Zechariah Sitchin. I had already moved past the Greys, and I had already moved past the Pleiadians and all these other aliens. And I knew everything about the Anunnaki. I had watched all of Zechariah Sitchin's speeches. I had read some of his books, and I knew everything about the solar system, everything about the galaxy. I knew what everything was, now everything operated, and I was an atheist, and those two go hand in hand, right? Like you don't. I don't think atheists. I don't know of any atheists and / flat earthers. I don't think the two mesh. If we're living under a dome and a flat and it's created, there has to be a creator. And it's easy to see that we're living in a creation, right? You can just look at the clock above us. I always talk about the celestial clock, 86,400 seconds in a day, every day, day after day, month after month, year after year, millennia after millennia. You never have to change your clocks. You know, it sounds really good, man.
I think we live in a globe. Like not
what?
Before you murder me, a snow globe, right? I really think like it's, and if you really wanted to create, I don't know, creatures and absorb the way they work, it would definitely be a snow globe, right? Duh. Like we do it with ants, we do it in zoos, we do it in aquariums. It's literally a glass bowl that you can look inside or look above, right? So makes sense why it is flat.
Well, you know, here's another thing. Did you notice that if you were to do some research into things that have died out, like things that are believable that died out, you look at all these different skeletons. We had, you know, megalodons, you know, these giant sharks. We had these giant turtles. We had these giant sloths. We had these giant tigers, right? We had these giant, everything was giantized thousands of years ago. Here's the thing. Science will tell you it was millions of years ago. And I think, and that's again, just more scientism, more lies. I think that was thousands of years ago. And I think that humans were bigger too. I think that we've been dialed down and made smaller. That's another theory. I don't know if you ever looked at any Rob Skiba videos, but interesting.
That's why the simulation argument isn't fucking crazy either. Like maybe we're not a simulation in the sense of like ones and zeros. Like we might actually be organic, but we're literally just like small moving parts. And like who knows? Who knows what? Like maybe it is just strictly observation, right? Like it makes sense if you believe in creation. But
well, simulation. Can't believe something goes on. No problems ever. I haven't had a problem.
Uh-oh. Now I look beautiful, and my screen has. Dude, what's up with your internet, bro? Like I got all green bars right there, dog.
I've never had a problem. Never. I've never had a problem since I've been here. I've got fiber, right? And I've got the high speed fiber. And I work in IT. I never have an issue with bandwidth. I do speed tests all the time. And it just so happens when I'm doing my podcast, we have an issue. What are the odds?
That is kind of weird. And like, it's every time we're hitting a cool new chapter in our story, it goes to shit.
That now.
I look super handsome right now. I think it's the purple light.
I know. I shaved my beard today, so I've lost some points there.
Yeah, but you're like a beautiful black belt and intelligent. That's the other thing too, right? Like you're extremely intelligent, and then I mean, like obviously a lot of people don't believe in what we believe in, but it's like I think that's a big reason why I kind of like wanted to start. Like Bobby's a smart guy, right? Like, and he like you are a nerd, like you 100% are. Like that's not necessarily a bad thing at all. Like your kingdom you made, right? Like your jiu-jitsu academies, like the company you had made, like you're like a whiz in IT. Like that's all like intelligent stuff, and like all the language, like you know a lot of language. Like it's like, you're not a dumb person. And like I noticed, like when you dive in, like jiu-jitsu, you like master that subject, right? Like you're always trying to get even all your ITT stuff. Like you have all the certs on that crap. So I feel like you got hooked onto something that was like again, almost like on a spectrum level. You found something that was super shiny and new, and you researched the shit out of it from multiple sides of it. So it's like, dude, if anybody has an understanding, it's like you don't have anything to gain to tell the world is flat, right? Like it's like you have no hidden agenda. I saw your curiosity grow from just flat Earth is stupid to like, holy shit, like things are kind of making sense.
Yeah, you know, I started first some video.
What if I'm still like coming in beautiful? Hey guys, and we're back.
Yeah. Anyway, so what I was saying is I don't know what year it was, but I think I got the year I got into it. The big name was like Mark Sargent, right? And then you started and Eric Dubay. Those are the two guys I was watching. And then you start seeing ODD TV and some other neat guys come into the scene. But anyway, we have one viewer. Thank you, whoever that is. Type something on the screen. And maybe that's you. Are you viewing? Are you our one viewer?
I don't think so.
It is, but if something in, I'd like to know who our viewer is.
That'd be funny if it is. I'm gonna pretend to be someone else.
So
I can tell Courtney to watch us. How do you even watch
you need to find some more people to come on, right? Like here's an interesting subject.
Wait, how do people watch this? Like, how do you send the link so I can send the link out right now?
Just go to Flat Earth, type at Flat Earth and Coffee, just all one word in YouTube at Flat Earth and Coffee, and it'll take you to the channel at Flat Earth and Coffee. It's actually on 3 channels. It's actually on 5 different social media channels playing live at the same time, but one of them is at Flat Earth and Coffee.
Where do I search that at? On Facebook?
YouTube. You go to YouTube and in the search bar, put in at Flat Earth and Coffee. YouTube? It's all I use.
Man, bro, I think you have to expand your outreach. I don't think people use YouTube anymore. I think they use
TikTok
no,
I mean, I research everywhere. I use Rockfin. I use a whole bunch of different obscure platforms.
So at Flat Earth.
At we lost.
That's probably because I'm using my phone. I'm back in. I almost feel like we should do it our old way, kind of like just record it all and then edit it together.
I know. And the problem is We may do that. We may do that. We're done. I think we're done, man. This thing just flipping out on me. Unable to connect to the room. Make sure you have active connection and it's not blocked by the firewall. All right, we're going to do it again. I think that's going to be it. I'm tired of messing with it tonight, and I know
No, I get you.
no one's going to be soft with it. But we'll do it again. I'll let you know when we'll do one next weekend. We'll do it again. Try to find someone to call.
All right, I'll try. If not, I'll just pay someone to do it. This is kind of dorky. I love it. See, but I think if you want to reach more viewers, you kind of have to like slowly bring in the flat earth theory, like, because you know your shit, but you're like you're at a black belt level knowledge teaching kindergarten. It's breaking up. I don't know what you're saying.